Shove it, man!
Alright, Hawkermaniacs, following on from the video I made on the love triangle of Kurt, Karen and Jeff Jarrett, a lot of people seem to like it, and a lot of people said they weren't that aware of it. So in this video, we're going to look at an even lesser known love triangle. It's Chris Sabin, Velvet Sky and Bully Ray. This took place around the end of 2013, so I know a lot of you stopped watching at this point, but comment down below if you already knew about this. Also, it's not that talked about, but it will be in this video, so let me know what you thought of Chris Sabin as the world champion. Yes, Chris Sabin was a world champion if you didn't know. And if you really want to, go one further, and you can threaten to smack me one in the comment section.
Hey you brother! Make sure you subscribe or I'll make you suffer!
First, I'm going to set the stage. Velvet Sky and Chris Sabin have been dating for a couple of years whilst both working for TNA, although it was never acknowledged. Chris Sabin was one half of the Motor City Machine Guns, an extremely popular tag team who, for a combination of bad luck and lack of support from management, never really got the push that they deserved. The team with Alex Shelley formed in 2007, out of the ashes of the Kevin Nash paparazzi production storyline and a mutual enjoyment of bullying Bob Backlund. They were originally known as the Murder City Machine Guns, and they were managed by Nash, although both of these parts of the team were short-lived. They fought against Team 3D and Bully Ray lots of times, with the only real incident of note being in 2009, when Bully Ray gave Sabin a concussion during a match. Kevin Nash flipped out backstage at the Dudleys for not looking after Sabin. Although the team were extremely popular, it wasn't until July 2010 that they would win their first tag team titles. Fans were always calling for them to get the straps, and it was a real feel-good moment that after 3 years the team finally won the belts. They did hold on to the belts for 182 days, but they wouldn't be seeing them for a very long time after this. Try 9 years. Shelley suffered a knee injury that kept him out for 3 months, and Sabin went back to the X Division to tread water and be wasted. They literally had nothing for him until Shelley came back, so everyone was happy to see him return after 3 months away. The good news stops there though. The same night that Shelley returned, Chris Sabin suffered a knee injury, and this would keep him out for almost a year. During this time, Shelley went back to the X Division and was barely used, so that's about 15 months completely wasted of their careers. They literally took them both off TV because they couldn't team them together. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin were deemed not good enough to be on TV on their own. Let that sink into your heads. We now fast forward to March 2012. Both guys are now fit and healthy, and they're back on TV as a team. They challenged for the tag team titles against the makeshift team of Magnus and Samoa Joe, but they lost, and then Shelley quit the company within 1 month of the team coming back to TV. What was the point? Well, apparently TNA lowballed the Guns, and Shelley felt like he could make more money on the indies, whereas Sabin felt like he might need some guaranteed money in the future due to his injury history. So unlike Shelley, Sabin didn't quit the company, although he might have been better off if he did. He was shoved back in the X Division, unsuccessfully challenging for the belt. A few weeks passed and Sabin tore his ACL in a match with Zema Ion. Jesus, this guy has bad luck. This kept Sabin out for 10 months. Sabin returned in May 2013, and where did they shove him? They shoved him straight back in the X Division, of course. This time though, Sabin did win the X Division title for the 5th time. Hulk Hogan then made the announcement that the X Division title could be traded in for a world title shot. Austin Aries had made this famous a year earlier when he coined the phrase Option C. Aries was eager to repeat the previous year, and then he beat Sabin for the X Division title dressed as Suicide, but then Sabin won the title back a week later. At the time we were all so confused with what direction TNA management was going. I don't know if they switched the title twice because they were genuinely unsure who should get the world title shot, or if they just wanted to swerve us, who knows. Meanwhile, the world champion Bully Ray was running roughshod over the TNA roster with his Aces and Eights faction. It was strange seeing Sabin in the main event position, as his popularity had definitely cooled since his Motor City Machine Gun days. In a genuine shocker, Sabin beat Bully Ray for the world title, although he had to cheat to do it. You would think that TNA fans would be really happy about this, a TNA original winning the title over the established veteran. But they weren't. Sabin just looked like a miserable little boy around this time. He had curly hair and a stupid jacket, and as much as I like Sabin, this world champion didn't work for the Hawk. It was completely out of the blue, and it just seemed too unbelievable that this guy could return from such a bad injury and then just dethrone the Aces and Eights, something that the rest of the roster had been trying to do. It's not as if Sabin had a history at fighting at this level. Ultimately, Sabin just didn't have the it factor. Chris Sabin has admitted since that he thought it was too early for the world title. Sabin said it was too early as he just recovered from 2 serious knee injuries. He had not been built up as a singles star. TNA management seemed to agree, and he dropped the title back to Bully Ray after only a few weeks. Sabin was again shoved back in the X Division. So what was the woman in this triangle up to? Well, it's Velvet Sky. What do you think she was up to? She was shaking her ass on the ropes. Velvet spent most of her TNA run in the Beautiful People group. They bullied ugly female wrestlers and forced brown bags over their heads, and then they hit people with what they called the ugly stick. Later on, Velvet turned face and started a storyline where she didn't like bullies and claimed she had been bullied her whole life. Does this look like a girl who's been bullied? And based on the last 5 years in TNA, she'd been the one doing the bullying. Velvet won the TNA Knockouts title in 2011 for her first of 2 title reigns. Her first reign lasted 6 months as Sky ran on her own without the Beautiful People. Velvet then left TNA for 6 months and returned at the end of 2012 and quickly won the Knockouts title for the second time, this time holding it for 4 months. The final piece of this puzzle, Bully Ray, who is most famous for his team of the Dudley Boys with Devon, had slowly transitioned into being a singles star as of 2010. He started an on-screen relationship with the Hawk's daughter and then tricked the Hawk into thinking that Bully was a nice guy. Bully was finally revealed to be the leader of the Aces and Eights in 2013 as he ditched Brooke Hogan and hooked up with Brooke Tessmacher. He dominated the world title scene for 5 months before meeting Chris Sabin, where he would lose his belt. Sabin wouldn't hold on to the belt for long though. He'd lose it back to Bully Ray after only a few weeks. This whole time Bully Ray was making fun of Sabin's size, and it felt like Ray was living up to his bullying gimmick. Sabin just did not look like he fit into the main event scene. He never got a rematch for his world title, and the whole thing just left us scratching our heads. Towards the end of 2013, Velvet was suddenly revealed as Chris Sabin's girlfriend on screen. Sabin went, guess where? Back to the X Division. For a very short time, Sabin and Velvet were a happy normal couple, but then they became a normal wrestling couple, with Chris Sabin turning heel and Velvet remaining face, and the man being jealous of the woman. Sabin won the X Division belt for the 7th time after forcing Velvet to interfere, and then things started to get more interesting. They started a storyline where Sabin was an abusive boyfriend. He cheated in his matches, often using Velvet as a human shield. When he lost matches, he blamed Velvet. He lost the title but won it back from Aries for a record 8th time. Velvet eventually had enough and refused to help Sabin anymore. We were supposed to feel sympathy for Velvet and hate Sabin, but all it did was make us not care about either of them. Sabin was always at his best as an underdog high flyer who had Shelley to bounce off of. Velvet was always at her best being a bitchy heel and not playing a victim, so the dynamics were the wrong way round. We all hoped Velvet would turn heel, but instead it all culminated in a match between Velvet and Sabin. The match was thrown out, however, after Alpha Female attacked Velvet Sky, and this was Sabin's final TNA TV match until recently. I think it was going to lead to Sabin having an on-screen relationship with Alpha Female, in what would have been one of the biggest downgrades in the history of relationships. There was time for one last stupid thing, however, as Sabin pretended to propose to Velvet but instead tricked her and told her to get out of his life. So Chris Sabin came out of this feud with Velvet looking useless, and nobody could take him seriously ever again. All of Sabin's promos were a squeaky embarrassment, and he acted like a little girl. No one could possibly like this guy. Sometime during this feud, Velvet and Sabin split up, but for real. And it was not a clean break. Very quickly after splitting up with Sabin, Velvet revealed that she was dating Bully Ray. Due to the closeness of timing, it leads this Hawk to believe that she was cheating on Sabin. Chris Sabin sent a whole bunch of tweets at Velvet, expressing his anger. It was obvious that something here had ruffled his feathers. The plot thickens as Sabin's original push completely evaporated, and he ended up in a far worse position than he ever was before. Bully Ray would have had backstage pull at this time, and it's often insinuated that Bully Ray had something to do with Sabin's fall from grace. Sabin was booked to look stupid at every turn against Velvet, and you have to wonder why he was thrown under the bus to such an extreme. Sabin went off to ROH while Bully Ray stayed with Impact, on and off for a year whilst flirting with the WWE. They eventually brought Bully into the WWE with Devon, but he was unsuccessful in getting Velvet into the company. Velvet was older, and her main gimmick wouldn't have been usable in WWE, let's be honest. So this was a good call. What's weird about the whole love triangle is that there's a surprising lack of comment from either of the three, especially Bully Ray. You would expect this loudmouth New Yorker to brag about how he stole Sabin's girlfriend, or at least something that makes him look like the big man. Anyway, it's time for this big man to leave you. I'll catch you all on the next video.